Cool. All right, finally, that leads us up to this third part of session one, and it's the 10 steps to leading your small group meeting. All right, these 10 steps you see there in your notes on page 7 are very practical. These 10 steps have come out of leading groups over the years, 20 plus years. The timeline is for a small group that would potentially be meeting in a home environment for a 2 hour period. I'll also share some ways that might adjust to an hour and a half or longer. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, these 10 steps, a few of them up front are sequential, but then the latter portion of the list are changeable. And it's really important to keep your group creatively changing so that every week it's just not the same old, same old. You know what I mean? So, excuse me, check out there on page 8, the 10 steps overview. And you see them there, and you see that I have brackets there to the left of the page that say same. Those are static items that are the same weekly. Okay, so every week you set up before your meeting time. Every week you want to welcome and have name tags. You want to have name tags as long as you're inviting new people to the group. If for a season it's the 6 couples of you, and it's just going to be you guys for a season of time before you start inviting new folks, then you can do away with the name tags for a little bit. Always start and end on time. Just be an organized, relaxed, relational leader, but just don't be too soft. And when you start group and when it ends, a lot of times people are getting there on time on purpose, so that group gets over at a certain time too. Which I always say, hey guys, we're done. If anybody wants to hang out and stay for a little while longer, feel free to. And then fourth, always an element of fellowship, an icebreaker. And so I'll always, like week 1, we have that life bio. We all just shared kind of a little bit about our lives. Week 2, I mentioned sharing about your testimony, your faith journey, where you're at. A lot of times everyone won't get to share. Everyone will share and it'll go a little long. So those faith journey stories might go on for a few weeks. But as your group continues to grow, and I'll share some examples of icebreakers here in just a little bit, but those kind of stay the same every week. What can change are those next 5. You can have an element of praise and worship if you want, if someone's a musician in the group, if someone wants to read a psalm of praise in the Bible, you can do that. That's an optional step. Some groups do praise and worship, some don't, which is fine. Number 6 is really the hub of the whole small group. The night's all about relationships and community, but what's most important, what's transforming, the transforming element of the group is God's Word. So it's the practical Bible study. 7 is to always have prayer in your group. Always have some element of testimony where people can share what God's doing positively in their lives. That just builds faith in the group. Number 8 is a leadership moment. That might be something I've sent you, the host, to communicate to your whole group. It might be something your leader or your pastor wants to communicate to your group, and so that would be a moment for that. And then number 9 is delegation. A good host always looks for opportunity to give things away to the group. So if it's bringing something, if it's coming early 15 minutes to help greet at the door, if it's someone coming early to help make coffee and set up the kitchen or the family room or the video, if it's making copies of something, anything you can delegate and give away gives a special purpose to everyone in the group. And then finally, as you get done each evening or morning, having some time for fellowship. Always getting done and then just relaxing and saying, hey, let's grab some coffee, let's hang out, and just continue just to enjoy one another. So there's the 10 steps there. You see the sample timeline over there on the side. That timeline can change. It's just kind of there if you really wanted some specifics to how you could break it down. But one thing I really encourage you with is, as a host, a relational, purposeful host at your group, is you won't want to always be looking at the clock. I usually sit where I can see the clock just to be conscious of time. But sometimes, someone might be sharing and it just kind of goes longer. You as the host, it'll be your role to just begin to kind of be attuned to what's happening in the lives of the people in your group. If someone's sharing about something going on at work or something going on in their marriage or in their parenting, and that couple or person really just needs the support of the group, maybe not specific words or advice, but just needs to share so the group hears and is kind of in the well, so to speak, with that person, just empathizing and listening. And a good host helps their group become good listeners. And then you're able to take those things to prayer. But sometimes those things might be important in the night of your group. And sure, it might shorten up the amount of time for Bible study or some of the other elements of the group. Not that that's going to happen all the time, but it's just important that you as the host feel the freedom to be able to allow things like that to happen. Cool? So that's the 10-step overview. Hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to pause this, and I want you guys there at your table just to kind of talk about the starting right, for week 1 and week 2, and any questions about that. I'm going to move around the training room here, specifically where we are at this training. At your training, you might specifically just want to there at your table begin to talk about it, the starting right, first 2 weeks, and then also these 10 steps. And then most likely, if you don't get your answers there, when we cover these 10 steps in detail in a moment, we're going to answer it there. All right? Thank you.